falsely accused of theft by my boss's cruel fiancé. I'm fired and thrown out of the luxury resort into a lethal blizzard. I'm fighting for my life when he finds me, the cold-hearted alpha billionaire who cast me out. He sees a thief, but his inner wolf has just recognized its one fated mate. The plaque on the desk read Victor Frost. It should have read the Ice King. His office was a box of glass and steel perched at the top of the Frost Industries ski resort, overlooking the jagged, snow-capped mountains of Wyoming. The view was worth billions. I was worth nothing. The resort's accounts, he said, his voice a low, cold vibration that matched the room. He slid a tablet across the polished mahogany desk. And my private accounts. Emptied. My heart was a trapped bird, beating its wings against my ribs. Mr. Frost, I don't understand. I just clean the suites. I don't have access to. You have access to the master keycard, Miss Vera. His eyes, a shade of blue so pale they were almost silver, pinned me in place. And you were the only staff member logged as entering my private penthouse this morning. For cleaning. I cried, my voice thin with panic. I was scheduled. Was this on your schedule? He clicked a button and a new image appeared on the screen. A security still. Me, in my gray uniform, in his penthouse. My hand was near the open safe behind a painting. No, I whispered, my blood turning to slush. No, it's not what it looks like. I was dusting. The safe was already open. And this. He clicked again. A bank transfer. $50,000. Wired to an offshore account. Our security team traced this. It was routed from a burner phone, which we found in your locker. My stomach dropped through the floor. My locker? That's impossible. A woman's voice, smooth as silk and just as cold, spoke from the corner. Victor, darling, isn't that enough? She's obviously a professional. Just look at her. She's not even a proper beta. Bianca, his fiancée, emerged from the shadows. She was wrapped in white fur, her blonde hair perfect, her scent sharp and expensive, like champagne and ozone. She was a high-ranking alpha, and she looked at me like I was something she'd scraped off her designer boot. Bianca, I pleaded, turning to her. I didn't do this. I've worked here for 2 years. Please, you have to believe me. She gave a delicate, cruel laugh. Believe you? Victor, my love, she's begging. How pathetic. What was it you were after, little Omega? Hoping to steal enough to buy a scent that doesn't scream desperate. Victor stood up. He was a mountain of a man, built like a predator, and his power rolled off him in waves, making the air in the room feel thin. His scent was sharp, all ice and pine, and it made my inner wolf whimper and flatten itself in submission. He was the alpha of this entire territory. Miss Vera, he said, and the finality in his tone made me stop breathing. You're fired. Your employment is terminated, effective immediately. Security will escort you off the premises. Mr. Frost, please. I sobbed. It's a mistake. I have nowhere to go. My paycheck. You will receive nothing. You are lucky I am not having you arrested. He looked past me, to the 2 broad-shouldered security guards who had entered the room. Get her out of my sight. No, please. I'm innocent. The guards grabbed my arms. I was too small, too weak, an omega against alphas. They dragged me from the office, my heels scraping on the marble floor. Bianca's smug, triumphant smile was the last thing I saw. She had set me up. She had framed me, and she had won. They didn't let me go to my locker. They didn't let me get my coat, or my backpack, or the meager tips I had hidden in my boot. They dragged me through the opulent, warm-toned lobby, past the guests in their expensive ski gear, their faces a blur of curiosity and judgment. The heavy oak doors of the resort hissed open, and the guards threw me, physically threw me, onto the snow-covered steps. And don't come back, one of them snarled, his lips curling. I landed hard on my hands and knees. The cold was a physical blow, a slap in the face. The sun was already dipping behind the mountains, painting the sky in fiery, golden hour tones that offered no warmth. A wind was picking up, sharp as a razor, and it cut right through my thin uniform. A blizzard. The forecast had been warning of it all day. I looked back at the lodge, a fortress of warm light and safety. Then I looked down the long, winding mountain road that led to town. It was 5 miles. 5 miles of ice and gathering darkness, in a storm that was moments from breaking. I was penniless. I was homeless. And I was going to freeze to death. All because the alpha billionaire I'd admired from afar was a man with a heart of pure ice. Hey everyone! Thank you for starting this new story. Where are you watching from today? And what's the weather like where you are? Let me know in the comments, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Please make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next chapter. Chapter 1. The world had shrunk to a few feet of swirling white. The beautiful golden hour light that I'd seen from Victor Frost's office was a joke. A cruel trick. That sun had abandoned the sky, leaving behind a bruised, purple twilight that was fading fast to black. The wind didn't just blow, it screamed. It was a living, malicious thing, a predator made of ice and fury, and it was hunting me. I'd been walking for at least an hour. Or maybe it was only 20 minutes. Time was a frozen, meaningless concept. My feet were gone. I couldn't feel them, couldn't feel my hands, which I'd tucked into my armpits. My polyester uniform was useless, a paper-thin defense against the storm's teeth. Snow caked my eyelashes, and I had to keep wiping my eyes to see the faint outline of the access road. 5 miles. I'd told myself that over and over. 5 miles, Vera. You can walk 5 miles. But this wasn't walking. This was wading through an ocean of ice. The snow was already knee-deep, and the drifts were rising. Each step was a battle. My lungs burned, the frigid air feeling like I was inhaling microscopic needles. I didn't do it. The words were a frantic prayer in my head. I didn't do it. I'm innocent. But it didn't matter. Bianca had won. She'd seen me as a threat. Why? I was nothing. An omega. In our world, omegas were background characters. We were the maids, the servers, the nannies. We were not meant to be noticed, especially not by alphas like Victor Frost. I had noticed him, though. I couldn't help it. I'd worked at the resort for 2 years, and in that time, I'd seen him command boardrooms, charm investors, and ski down impossible slopes with a grace that was almost brutal. He was everything an alpha was supposed to be: powerful, decisive, and in complete control. I had nursed a secret, pathetic crush on a man who didn't know I existed. Until today. Today, he had looked at me. And he had destroyed me. A gust of wind hit me so hard I stumbled sideways, falling off the road and into a deep snowdrift. The snow was soft, almost welcoming, and it swallowed me to my waist. I cried out, but the storm stole the sound. Panic, cold and sharp, flooded my body. I thrashed, trying to get my legs back under me, but the snow was like quicksand. No, no, please. I was so tired. It would be so easy to just stop. To just close my eyes and let the cold take me. It was quiet down here in the snow. Peaceful. All the fear and the humiliation would just fade. No. My inner wolf, a small, timid creature that I rarely ever felt, gave a pathetic whimper. It wanted to live. I used my elbows and knees, digging and clawing my way back to the packed ground of the road. I was shaking so hard my teeth felt loose in my head. I got to my feet, but the world was tilting. The cold was inside me now, in my bones. I took one more step and another. My legs felt like concrete. I didn't even know if I was still on the road. I couldn't see the markers anymore. There was just white. I sank to my knees. I can't, I whispered to the storm. I can't. I was done. I had nothing left. I curled into a ball, tucking my head to my knees, making myself as small as possible. The last, fading warmth in my body was a tiny ember. The storm roared around me, a lullaby of ice. My shaking began to slow down. My eyelids felt heavy. This was it. Then light. A blinding, cutting light sliced through the blizzard. I flinched, trying to lift my head. It was heavy as stone. I heard a low, mechanical growl. The sound of an engine, a big one, chewing through the snow. The light stopped, pinning me. A massive black truck, the kind with tires as tall as a man, idled just feet away, its headlights like the eyes of a great beast. The driver's door opened. A figure emerged, a silhouette of impossible size against the swirling snow. He wore no coat, just a black sweater that did nothing to hide the power in his shoulders. The wind whipped his dark hair across his face. He took a step toward me, and I saw his face. Victor Frost. I tried to scramble backward, a small, terrified sound escaping my throat. He had come to finish the job. To make sure the thief was gone. What the hell are you doing? His voice was a roar, even deeper than the storm. He sounded furious. Are you insane? He strode toward me, and I flinched, throwing my numb hands up to protect my face. I'm going. I slurred, my tongue thick with cold. I'm leaving. I'm sorry. He reached me in one step. His large, warm hand clamped onto my arm, and the feeling was like being struck by lightning. The heat of him, even in the blizzard, was a furnace. I fired you, he growled, hauling me to my feet. I was a doll in his grip, my legs buckling. I told you to get off my property. I didn't tell you to die on it. He was dragging me toward the truck, his anger a palpable thing. I stumbled, my feet useless. He was going to take me to the police. That was it. I didn't steal it, I whispered, the last of my fight draining away. He stopped. He was so close I could see the snowflakes melting on his skin. His ice blue eyes were narrowed. He was looking at me, really looking at me, but it was like he was seeing something else. He was a predator. He was an alpha. And alphas had senses that were far beyond human. His head tilted, just slightly. His nostrils flared. He was scenting me. What? His voice was no longer a roar. It was a low, confused growl. He was frozen in place. My scent. My pathetic, weak omega scent. Vanilla and a hint of soap. A scent that screamed submissive. A scent that no alpha would ever notice. But he was noticing it. His eyes, those cold, silver blue eyes, flickered. A darkness swam in them. A primal, animal shock. I was freezing to death, but a strange, impossible heat was blooming in my chest. He inhaled, a sharp, sudden breath. It wasn't a man breathing. It was a wolf, catching the scent of its prey. Or its. He stared at me, his face a mask of disbelief and a sudden, terrifying hunger. No, he breathed. The word was a denial. A rejection of what his senses were screaming at him. He let go of my arm as if I were on fire. But before I could fall, his hands were on me again, this time with a different kind of urgency. He wasn't just grabbing me. He was scooping me up. One arm went under my knees, the other around my back. He lifted me against his broad, solid chest as if I weighed nothing. His body was a furnace. The smell of him, pine and cold, clean steel, enveloped me, and my terrified, frozen wolf suddenly uncurled, deep inside me, and purred. You, he snarled, his voice rough with a new, raw emotion. You are not dying here. It was not a kindness. It was a command. A statement of possession. He turned and carried me through the storm, not back to the main resort, but toward a separate, private lodge hidden in the trees. His fortress. And I was his prisoner. Chapter 2. The world came back to me in fragments. First, heat. A roaring, crackling heat that was so intense, it felt like it was blistering my skin. Second, the scent. Pine and steel, but now with an undercurrent of something darker, muskier. It was the smell of a barely controlled predator. It was the smell of him. I was lying on something impossibly soft. A fur rug, I realized. In front of a fireplace that was big enough to stand in. The stones were black, and the flames leaped high, casting wild, golden shadows on the walls. My body was a war zone. My skin stung and prickled as the feeling returned, a painful, tingling rush that made me want to cry out. I was wrapped in a blanket, a heavy wool thing that was so big, it swallowed me. It smelled of him, too. Everything smelled of him. I blinked, my eyes gritty. The room was huge. A vaulted ceiling with massive wooden beams, a wall of glass that looked out into the swirling white void of the storm, and furniture that probably cost more than I'd ever make in my life. This wasn't the resort. This was his home. His private lodge. "You're awake." His voice came from the shadows. I flinched, pulling the blanket tighter. He was standing by the window, his arms crossed over his chest, watching me. He was still in his black sweater, which was now damp with melted snow. He looked like a wolf trapped in a cage, his energy so potent it made the air feel thin and sharp. Where am I?" I whispered. My throat was raw. "My lodge." He didn't move. "Drink this." He nodded toward a steaming mug on the stone hearth. I sat up, my body protesting. The blanket fell away, and I realized I was still in my damp, half-frozen uniform. I must have looked pathetic. I crawled to the mug and grabbed it with shaking hands. It was hot broth. I sipped it, the salt and warmth a shock to my system. It slid down my throat, and for the first time in hours, I felt a spark of life. I watched him over the rim of the mug. He was pacing now, back and forth in front of the window, his movements tight and controlled. But there was a fury in him, a coiled, violent tension. He was fighting something. "Why?" I tried again, my voice stronger. "Why did you bring me here? You should have just left me." He stopped pacing. He turned his head, and his ice-blue eyes locked on me. "I don't let people die on my mountain, Miss Vera. It's bad for business." The coldness was back. The casual dismissal. He hadn't saved me. He had saved his resort's reputation. The tiny warmth in my chest died. "I didn't steal it," I said, the words a hollow echo. "I don't know what you saw on that camera, but it wasn't me. Bianca, she must have." Silence. The command was sharp, an alpha's order, and it made me flinch so hard I nearly spilled the broth. "Do not speak her name." "But she's the one who—" I said. Silence. He roared, and this time, my wolf cowered. The power in his voice was a physical thing, pressing me down. He stalked toward me, and I shrank back, pulling my knees to my chest. He stopped just outside the circle of firelight, a giant of shadow and rage. "You're a thief," he snarled, his voice low and dangerous. "I saw the proof. I saw you. My security team, the best in the world, found the phone in your locker. You stole $50,000, and you lied to my face." I didn't. I was crying now, hot, frustrated tears that stung my frozen cheeks. "I don't know how the phone got there. I don't know how the transfer was made. But I didn't do it. Why would I? I loved my job. I trailed off because he wasn't listening. He was staring at me again with that same, strange intensity from the truck. That primal shock. "Stop it," he growled. "Stop what?" "Stop that. Your scent." He raked a hand through his dark hair, and for the first time, the Ice King looked out of control. "It's wrong." "I can't help it," I whispered, confused. "It's just me." "It's impossible," he muttered, turning away from me. He went back to the window, placing his hands on the cold glass, staring out at the storm. His shoulders were rigid. An omega. A common, thieving omega. He was talking to himself. Or to his wolf. "The scent," he said, his voice strained. "It smells like. He couldn't even say it. Home." My brain supplied the word. It was a word I'd heard in old stories. A scent that an alpha only ever smelled from one person. A scent that meant mate. The implications of that crashed into me. No, it couldn't be. He was Victor Frost. An alpha of the highest rank. He was engaged to Bianca, a suitable, powerful alpha. I was a scentless coated omega. A nobody. A reject. And he thought I was a criminal. This wasn't a fated bond. This was a biological curse. A cosmic joke. You will stay here, he said, his back still to me, until the storm breaks. The roads are impassable. No one can get up or down the mountain. And then, I whispered, my heart hammering, then you'll take me to the police. He was silent for a long time. The only sound was the fire and the howl of the wind. I don't know, he said, and his voice was so low I barely heard him. I should throw you to the wolves. But he turned, and his face was a mask of cold fury. But his eyes were burning. The silver blue was almost glowing in the firelight, and the pupils were blown wide. It was the wolf looking at me. But my wolf, he snarled, wants to tear out the throat of anyone who tries to touch you. He took a step toward me. My wolf wants to keep you. To lock you in this lodge and never let you leave. To wrap you in my furs and... He stopped, as if the words choked him. I was terrified. But not of him. Not of his anger. I was terrified of the tiny, insane spark of hope that was lighting up inside me. He believed I was a thief, but his wolf didn't care. So here is what you will do, he said, his voice regaining its icy control. You will not speak. You will not try to leave. You will sit by that fire and you will get warm. And I will try to figure out why the hell my instincts are screaming at me that a liar and a thief is mine. Chapter 3. The storm raged for 2 days. I lived in a state of suspended terror, a ghost haunting the edges of Victor's fortress. He gave me a guest room that was bigger than my entire apartment back in town. It had a bed so soft I felt like I was sinking into a cloud, and a bathroom made of marble and glass. He had a guard, one of the same men who had thrown me out, deposit a bag outside the door. It contained simple, new clothes, soft wool leggings, a thick cashmere sweater, and socks. All in a neutral gray. A prisoner's uniform, but a luxurious one. I stayed in that room mostly. I was too afraid to wander. I'd creep out to the massive kitchen when I was sure he wasn't there, grabbing a piece of fruit or some bread, my stomach churning with a mixture of hunger and fear. He was a shadow. I'd hear him in his office, his voice a low, angry rumble on the phone. I'd see him in the main lodge, standing in front of the wall of glass, just staring into the white. He never slept. He was like a caged lion, prowling the halls of his own home, and I was the unwelcome creature that had been thrown into his den. He barely spoke to me. When he did, his voice was clipped cold. There's food in the kitchen. Don't touch the thermostat. Stay out of the east wing. But I felt his eyes on me. When I'd curl up on the hearth rug in the main room, the only place I felt truly warm, I'd feel his gaze from the shadows. It was a heavy, possessive weight. It wasn't the look of a man looking at a thief. It was the look of a man starving, looking at a feast he'd forbidden himself from touching. The tension was a living thing, a third person in the lodge. It was in the air, in the silence, in the way he'd abruptly leave a room when I entered it. His control was absolute, but I could see the cracks. His hands were always clenched. His jaw was always tight. He was at war with his own wolf, and it was a war he was barely winning. On the morning of the 3rd day, the storm broke. The wind died, and a weak, watery sunlight filtered through the clouds, making the world outside look like it was covered in diamonds. It was beautiful, and it was my doom. The roads would be cleared. He could leave. He could take me to the police. I was in the kitchen, my hands wrapped around a mug of tea I didn't want, when I heard the sound. The roar of a snowplow, followed by the deep growl of another engine. My blood ran cold. He was here. The guard or the police. It was over. I heard voices in the entryway. Victor's low, cold tone. And another. A woman's. Victor, darling. I've been half mad with worry. Bianca. My mug slipped. It hit the stone floor and shattered, tea and ceramic flying everywhere. I froze, my heart leaping into my throat. Footsteps. Fast, sharp. Bianca appeared in the kitchen doorway, and her perfectly beautiful face went rigid. She was in a designer ski suit of spotless white, her blonde hair pulled back. Her eyes, sharp and blue, narrowed into slits. "You," she spat. The word was venom. She looked past me at Victor, who had followed her. He stood in the entryway, his face a mask of unreadable granite. "What is that doing here?" Bianca demanded, her voice rising. "Victor, tell me you threw this thief, back into the snow where it belongs." "Bianca," Victor said, his voice a low warning. "This is not your concern." "Not my concern?" She laughed, a high, ugly sound. "She stole from you. From us. And you, what? You saved her? You brought her into your home? Have you lost your mind?" She stalked toward me. I shrank back, pressing myself against the cold, stainless steel counter. I was an Omega. She was an Alpha. I had no standing, no power. "You filthy little rat," she hissed, getting right in my face. Her scent, champagne and ozone, was sharp, and it made my eyes water. "I knew you were trash. Did you think you could seduce him? Did you flash those pathetic, sad eyes at him, and he took pity on you?" I didn't." I stammered. "Get out," Bianca snapped. "Get out of his house. Get off this mountain. If I ever see your face again, I won't just have you fired. I'll have you put in a cage." "Bianca." Victor's voice was different. It wasn't cold. It was deadly. She ignored him, her fury focused on me. She raised her hand, her nails long and painted red. "Did you hear me, Omega?" I flinched, bracing for the blow. It never came. A blur of motion. Victor crossed the kitchen in a single, silent step. His hand shot out and clamped around Bianca's wrist, his fingers wrapping around her arm just inches from my face. His grip was so tight, his knuckles were white. Bianca gasped, her eyes wide with shock. He wasn't just stopping her. He was hurting her. "Victor," she breathed, her confidence vanishing, replaced by a flicker of fear. You're hurting me." "You," Victor snarled, his voice a guttural growl I hadn't heard before. "Will not touch her." His eyes weren't blue anymore. They were black. The pupils had completely eclipsed the iris. This was not Victor Frost, the CEO. This was the Alpha, his wolf fully on the surface. He didn't just smell like pine and ice. He smelled like pure, primal rage. And it was all directed at his fiancée. I don't understand," Bianca stammered, trying to pull her arm free. "Victor, she's a thief. She's a nothing. She is under my protection," he growled. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a terrifying whisper. "And you will never threaten her again. Do you understand me?" Bianca, an alpha in her own right, was trembling. She nodded, her face pale. "Good." He released her wrist, shoving her arm back. He turned to me. I was shaking, my back pressed so hard against the counter I could feel the knobs of the cabinets digging into my spine. His eyes were still black. He looked at me, his gaze sweeping over my face, my neck, as if checking me for injury. Then he looked at the shattered mug on the floor. He stepped past me, grabbed a towel, and knelt. Right there at my feet. The Alpha Billionaire, the Ice King, knelt on the floor and began picking up the broken pieces of ceramic. Bianca watched, her face a mask of pure, murderous disbelief. "Get out, Bianca," Victor said, his voice calm again, but with a new, lethal edge. He didn't even look at her. He just kept cleaning up my mess. "Victor, the snowplow is waiting. Go back to the resort. We will talk later. But the engagement. Go." He stood up, the broken pieces in the towel. He looked at her. And in that one look, Bianca saw what I saw. That something had broken. Something had fundamentally changed in the last 3 days. She looked at him. Then she looked at me, a low, pathetic Omega. And her expression of hatred was so profound, so absolute, it made me feel cold again. She didn't say another word. She just turned, her white ski suit a blur, and stormed out of the lodge. The front door slammed shut, the sound echoing in the sudden silence. It was just us again. I was breathing fast, my heart feeling like it was going to explode. He had defended me. He had protected me. He had touched me. He turned to me. The wolf was gone, the ice blue eyes back, but they were no longer cold. They were confused. Burning. He looked at me, then at the counter where I stood, then at the door Bianca had left through. He seemed lost, a man waking from a dream. He started. He scrubbed a hand over his face. I need air. He walked past me, not to the front door, but to a side door. It opened, and a blast of cold, clean air filled the kitchen. He stepped out onto a snow-covered patio, his hands braced on the railing, his back to me. I watched his broad shoulders rise and fall as he took deep, ragged breaths of the mountain air, as if he were trying to clear his head. He had just chosen a thieving Omega over his powerful, high-alpha fiancé. And I had no idea what was going to happen next. Chapter 4. I didn't see him for the rest of the day. He stayed outside for over an hour, a dark, unmoving figure against the blinding white snow. I watched him from the kitchen window, my heart a painful knot in my chest. When he finally came back inside, he went straight to his office in the East Wing, and the heavy door clicked shut. I spent the day in a haze, cleaning the kitchen, scrubbing the floor where the mug had shattered. I needed to do something. I was a prisoner, but I was a prisoner he had just defended. The dynamic had shifted, cracked open like a sheet of ice, and I didn't know what was beneath. The lodge was quiet, but it was a new kind of quiet. Not just the absence of the storm, but the absence of him. The tension was still there, but it had changed. It was no longer a taut wire of predator and prey. It was something else. Something fragile. As evening fell, the golden hour light returned, but this time, it was real. It poured through the massive windows of the lodge, setting the wooden beams on fire, making the room feel warm and safe. A false safety, I knew. I built up the fire, the way I'd seen him do, and curled up on the fur rug. I must have drifted off, lulled by the heat and the emotional exhaustion. I woke to the smell of him. He was sitting in the large leather armchair near the fire, not 10 feet from me. He was just watching me sleep. I sat up, my heart doing a familiar, panicked leap. Mr. Frost. Victor, he said. His voice was quiet. Not cold, not angry. Just tired. He was holding a glass of something dark. I'm not going to hurt you, Vera. It was the first time he'd used my name. It sounded strange in his deep voice. You defended me, I whispered, pulling my knees to my chest. From Bianca. He swirled the liquid in his glass. My wolf does not like her. It hasn't for a long time. Today, it saw her as a threat. A threat to you? He looked at me, and his blue eyes were clear, the firelight dancing in them. No. A threat to you. My breath hitched. Why? I'm the one who stole from me, he finished. He said it flatly, a statement of fact. He looked into the fire. I ran the security footage again. And again. And again. My stomach clenched. I told you, it's not what it looks like. You're right, he said softly. It's not. I stared at him. What? I've been staring at it for hours. I slowed it down. Frame by frame. You were dusting. You wiped the frame of the painting and the safe was open. Just as you said. I couldn't breathe. You believe me? I believe what I'm seeing. You looked at the safe. You touched the door. You hesitated. And then, you closed it. I was scared, I whispered, the memory rushing back. I knew I shouldn't have been in there. I saw it was open, and I just shut it. I didn't want to be blamed. But you were, he said. The bank transfer. The phone in your locker. Bianca, I said, my voice gaining a small, trembling strength. It had to be her. She's the only other person who Who comes in here? She has her own key. He nodded, still staring into the flames. She does. She's never liked me, I said, the words tumbling out. She always looks at me like I'm dirt. A few weeks ago, you smiled at me. In the lobby. You just smiled. And you asked me if I was having a good day. She was with you. And her face. I shivered. She looked at me like she wanted me dead. Victor was silent. He set his glass down on the stone floor. A simple smile, he murmured. And she did this. You believe me, I said again, the relief so profound it was painful. You finally believe me. My wolf always did, he said, his voice rough. From the moment I found you. In the truck. That scent. My wolf knew you were not a threat. It knew you were mine. I was the one who fought it. The man. The alpha king with a heart of ice. He turned his head and looked at me. And there was no ice. There was just a deep, profound, and devastating loneliness. A man who had been a frost his whole life. I'm sorry, Vera, he said. The words undid me. I hadn't realized I'd been holding my breath, waiting for those words, for someone to believe me. A sob tore its way out of my chest. I buried my face in my hands and cried. I cried for my lost job, for the humiliation, for the terror of the storm. I cried because I had almost died. I felt, rather than saw, him move. The massive, fur-clad cushion of the armchair dipped as he knelt in front of me. He didn't touch me. Not at first. He just waited. I'm sorry, I choked out, trying to stop. I'm a mess. No, he said, his voice a low rumble. You are strong. Stronger than any alpha I know. You survived her. You survived me. You survived the mountain. His large, warm hand, the one that had clamped onto my arm in the storm, came up. He hesitated, as if asking permission. I lifted my head, my face wet, and looked at him. His fingers, calloused and impossibly gentle, brushed the tears from my cheek. The touch was electric. It wasn't just skin on skin. It was connection. I felt the spark, the same one from the lodge, but this time, it didn't just warm me. It anchored me. And I felt him. I felt the rigid, icy control he lived in, and I felt the raging, lonely wolf he kept caged inside. And in that moment, I felt my own small, quiet power. The power he'd scented from the beginning. My hand came up, and, before I could stop myself, I laid it on his chest, over his heart. I could feel the steady, powerful beat beneath my palm. His eyes closed. A low, soft sound vibrated through his chest, a sound I had only ever heard from a wolf in contentment. A purr. He was the storm. And I was his calm. Vera, he whispered, his eyes opening. They were dark with an emotion that had nothing to do with anger and everything to do with need. He leaned in slowly. He was giving me time to pull away. I didn't. I couldn't. His lips touched mine. It was not a kiss of fire and passion. It was a kiss of profound relief. It was the warmth of the fire, the safety of the lodge. It was the scent of pine and ice, not as a threat, but as a promise. It was his wolf and his man, finally in agreement. He was broken, in his own way. A king frozen in ice. And I, the girl with nothing, was the only one who could melt him. Chapter 5. The kiss was a beginning. It was the sound of a key turning in a lock that had been frozen shut for a lifetime. When he pulled back, the air between us was different. It was charged, intimate. He didn't move away. He just rested his forehead against mine, his eyes closed. I have to fix this, he whispered, his voice thick. Victor. No. She did this. She used my trust. She used her position. She framed you. She nearly killed you. His anger was back, but it was a cold, controlled fury. It was not directed at me. It was for me. She will not get away with it. What about the engagement? I asked, my voice small. What about your family? The company? He pulled back, his hands framing my face. His ice blue eyes were sharp, the mind of the CEO clicking back into place. The engagement was a merger. A business deal between Frost Industries and her father's corporation. It was practical. It was what was expected. And now? Now, he said, his thumb stroking my cheek, it is a liability. Bianca has proven she is unstable. She is a danger to my assets. I couldn't help but smile, just a little. Am I an asset, Mr. Frost? His expression softened, a tiny, rare smile touching his own lips. You are everything, Vera. And I am going to protect you. For the rest of that night and into the next day, the lodge became a war room. The man who had been a pacing, conflicted wolf was gone. In his place was the alpha. He was on the phone, his voice sharp, decisive. He was calling in favors, calling his head of security, the real one, not the pack members at the resort, and giving a string of quiet, lethal commands. I want her watched. Every call. Every transaction. Check the logs for the East Wing penthouse. I want every keycard entry for the last month, cross-referenced with Bianca's known location. Pull the satellite data for the resort's burner phone tower. I want the exact time that phone was activated, and I want to know whose registered devices were in the same quadrant. He was hunting, and it was terrifying to behold. I stayed by the fire, a silent witness. I kept him supplied with coffee, which he would take with a low thank you, his eyes never leaving his screen. He was dismantling her, piece by piece. Late in the afternoon, he got a call. He listened, his face impassive. I see. Yes. I expected as much. Send me the file. He hung up and looked at me. It's done. What? The phone. The one in your locker. It was activated 3 days ago, from a location 200 yards from the resort staff entrance, where there is no camera. But that could be anyone. It was paid for in cash, he continued. But the user was careless. They used the resort's public Wi-Fi to register the offshore account, just for a moment. Long enough for my team to get the device ID. He tapped his tablet. It's Bianca's personal tablet. The one she carries with her everywhere. The one she's probably using right now. He had her. The proof. It's over, I breathed, the relief so huge I felt dizzy. You can clear my name. I will, he said, his voice grim. But it's not over. It's just beginning. Before I could ask what he meant, his phone rang again. This time, the caller ID made him scowl. He muted the call and looked at me. That was Bianca's father, he said. They are displeased. She went back to the resort and told them, her version of events. That I assaulted her. That I'm holding you here against your will. That I've lost my mind. What? But that's a declaration of war, Victor finished. They're not just pulling out of the merger. They're trying to ruin me. To paint me as an unstable alpha who attacked his fiancée and kidnapped an Omega. But you have proof. I cried. My word against hers. An Omega's word against a high alpha's. He shook his head. In our world, the hierarchy is everything. They will try to destroy my reputation, to force my father and the board to remove me. He was right. I was the weak link. I was the scandal. He had defended me, and in doing so, he had made himself vulnerable. This is my fault, I whispered, my heart turning to lead. If I hadn't been here, if you had just left me in the storm. Vera. He crossed the room in 2 strides, kneeling before me again, his hands taking mine. Do not say that. This is her fault. This is their fault. They are corrupt. They are liars. And I will not let them win. But they'll use me to hurt you, I said, my voice breaking. Victor, they'll say I'm your mistress. They'll say you attacked her for me. They'll ruin you. Let them try, he growled. No. I pulled my hands from his. I couldn't be the person who destroyed him. He had just found me. I had just found him. I wouldn't be his downfall. Vera, what are you doing? I stood up, backing away from the fire. I have to go. Go where? The mountain is still shut down. I don't care. I'll walk. I'll hide. But I can't stay here. I can't be the weapon she uses against you. I was crying again, but these were not tears of relief. They were tears of despair. You're Victor Frost. You're the Alpha. You can't be seen with me. It's forbidden. An Alpha and an Omega, it's a scandal. An Alpha and a thief. I will clear your name, he said, standing up, his voice rising. It won't matter. I cried. The story is already out. Bianca will have seen to that. By now, everyone, your father, the board, the entire pack, they all think I'm a criminal. And you're my protector. Don't you see? You've already lost. I have not lost you. You will. I backed toward the mudroom where my old, ruined shoes were. If I stay, I'll be the reason you lose everything. Your company. Your family. Your name. I won't do that to you. Vera, stop. That's an order. His alpha command hit me, and my legs faltered. But the desperation, the need to protect him, was stronger. It was a new, fierce instinct. The calm was gone. In its place was a mother bear's fury. I would protect my mate, even from himself. I'm sorry, I whispered. I turned and ran. I grabbed the door, flung it open, and plunged back into the cold. The snow was deep, but the sun was out. It didn't matter. I ran, stumbling, falling, getting up again, fighting my way through the deep drifts, away from the lodge. I heard him roar my name. It was not a human sound. It was the sound of a wolf, being torn in two. Vera. I didn't look back. I just ran. Chapter 6. The snow was a trap. What had looked like a glittering, diamond-covered path from the window was a thigh-deep, punishing ocean of ice. I wasn't running, I was floundering. Every step was a new, exhausting battle. The air was thin and cold, and my lungs were already on fire. I made it maybe 50 yards, to the edge of the clearing where the private road began, before I heard him. He wasn't running. He was hunting. The sound of his boots on the snow was a heavy, relentless, crunching rhythm. He was moving twice as fast as I was, his long legs eating up the distance. I fell, face first, into a drift, the snow cold and sharp against my cheeks. I was sobbing, a desperate, frustrated sound. Leave me alone. A shadow fell over me. His hands, hard as steel, clamped onto my shoulders. He didn't just lift me, he flipped me over, his strength effortless. He was breathing hard, but not from exertion. From rage. Did you really think, he growled, his face inches from mine, his ice-blue eyes blazing with a possessive fire I'd never seen, that I would let you go? You have to. I shrieked, beating my numb fists against his chest. It was like hitting a wall of stone. She'll destroy you. They'll all destroy you. I don't care. He hauled me up, flush against his body. One arm wrapped around my waist like a steel band, lifting me so my feet barely touched the ground. I don't care about the company. I don't care about the merger. I don't care about any of it. I only care about you. Victor. I choked, my fight evaporating, replaced by a devastating wave of love and fear. I spent my entire life, he snarled, his voice thick with a lifetime of pain, being Victor Frost. The air. The alpha. The ice. I have been frozen, Vera. For 34 years. And then you, this tiny, brave, impossible Omega, you walked into my life, and you melted me. You woke me up. He shook me gently. I am not letting you go. Not now. Not ever. But your father. Bianca. A new voice, cold and laced with patrician fury, cut through the air. Victor. Unhand that girl. We both froze. Standing at the top of the drive, near a massive, black-on-black snowcat, were two figures. Bianca, her face a mask of smug triumph, stood beside an older man. He was tall, like Victor, with the same powerful build, but his hair was silver, and his eyes were the same shade of glacial blue. This was Elias Frost, the patriarch. The true king. Father, Victor said. He didn't release me. If anything, his arm tightened. I got a very disturbing call from Lord Alistair, Elias said, his voice carrying with effortless power. Bianca's father. He tells me you assaulted his daughter. That you have taken this thief into your lodge and refused to release her. She is not a thief, Victor said, his voice a low growl. Oh, Victor, please, Bianca sighed, stepping forward. It's over. Your father knows. The board knows. You've been compromised. You're not fit to lead. But if you hand her over now, we can contain this. We can say she bewitched you. And Omega's tricks. I saw Victor's body tense. He was going to lunge. He was going to kill her. No, I whispered, placing my hand on his chest. Don't. He looked down at me, his eyes black with rage. Let me, I said. I looked at Elias Frost. He's not lying. I'm not a thief. Be silent, Omega, Elias commanded, his alpha power rolling over me. I flinched, but Victor's presence at my back was a shield. No, I said, my voice shaking but clear. Bianca, she framed me. She used her tablet to make the transfer. She planted the phone. Bianca laughed. The desperate lies of a cornered animal. Father Frost, she's right, Victor said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He clicked a button. A video played. It was security footage. From the lodge. From yesterday. It was Bianca in the kitchen, her back to the camera. And my voice, thin and terrified. You have to believe me. And then Bianca's. What was it you were after, little Omega? Hoping to steal enough to buy a scent that doesn't scream desperate. Victor hadn't just been in his office. He had been reviewing all the footage, including the audio from his own penthouse office. Bianca's face went white. And then, Victor continued, his voice lethally calm. There's this. He swiped. The activation logs for the burner phone. From her tablet. Sent to me by my security team an hour ago. He looked at his father. She framed an innocent Omega. She exposed her to a blizzard that should have killed her. All because I smiled at her. Elias Frost was silent. He looked at the evidence. He looked at his son, who was holding me like I was the most precious thing in the world. He looked at Bianca, whose face was a mask of crumbling, ugly hatred. Bianca, Elias said, his voice flat. He's lying, she shrieked. He's protecting his Omega pet. He's mating her. It's disgusting. It's forbidden. The word hung in the air. Mating. Elias's eyes narrowed. He looked at Victor. He looked at the way Victor's hand was splayed on my back, at the way his scent, pine and ice, was wrapped around me, a possessive, claiming shroud. Is this true, Victor? Elias asked, his voice quiet. Victor looked down at me. His burning, wolfish eyes asked me a question. I knew what he was giving up. His name. His company. His legacy. For me. I turned my face up to his. Yes, I whispered. Victor looked back at his father. And for the first time, he smiled. A true, real smile. Yes, father. She is, he said. She is my mate. No, Bianca screamed. You can't. The merger. My father will. He'll ruin you. He'll ruin all of you. I think, Elias Frost said, a slow, cold smile spreading across his own face, that your father is about to have much bigger problems. He looked at Bianca. Fraud. Embezzlement. Attempted murder, if Vera chooses to press charges. Your father won't be ruining anyone. He'll be liquidating his assets to pay for your lawyers. He looked at the guards he'd brought. Take her. Not to the resort. To the local authorities. Give them this. He took Victor's phone. No, you can't do this to me. Bianca shrieked as the guards grabbed her. I'm an alpha. You can't. Victor. He didn't even watch her go. He was only looking at me. Father, Victor said, his voice wary. About the company. The company, Elias said, has been run by an ice block for 10 years. It's boring. He looked at me, a long, appraising look. You, Vera, you are an Omega. Yes, sir, I whispered. And you survived a blizzard. You survived Bianca. And you survived my son. He almost laughed. And you calm him. Victor's arm was still locked around me. He hadn't let go. The Frosts, Elias said, have not had an Omega in the family line for 100 years. They said it. Weakened the line. Looking at my son, who finally looks like he has a fire in his veins. He nodded once. I think it makes us stronger. He turned and walked back to the snowcat. Come home when you're done. We have a merger to dismantle. The engine started, and he was gone, leaving a trail of diesel in the clean mountain air. Leaving us. Alone. The silence was absolute. The sun was warm on my face. So, I whispered, my voice shaking. I'm not a prisoner. Victor's arm loosened. He turned me in his arms, his expression full of a wonder and a raw love that took my breath away. No, Vera, he whispered, his lips brushing mine. You're not my prisoner. He kissed me. And this kiss wasn't one of relief or desperation. It was a kiss of forever. It was pine and ice and vanilla and sunlight. It was the storm and the calm, finally together. You're my queen. Epilogue. The lodge is no longer a fortress. It's a home. It's spring. The golden hour light isn't a dying, cruel joke. It's a promise. It streams through the massive windows every evening, bathing the great room in warmth. The snow has melted, revealing a carpet of impossibly green grass and vibrant mountain wildflowers. I'm curled on the fur rug, but not by myself. Victor is sitting on the floor, his back against the leather armchair, and I'm settled between his legs, my back against his chest. His arms are wrapped around me, his hands resting possessively on the slight, new swell of my stomach. His heart beats against my back, a steady, calm rhythm. The ice is gone. He's just Victor. He's warm. He's kind. He laughs, a deep, rumbling sound that I am completely addicted to. He did not lose his company. In fact, when the story broke, and it broke spectacularly, the world was outraged on my behalf. Bianca and her father are buried in lawsuits, their company in ruins. Frost Industries, on the other hand, saw its stock climb. The world, it turns out, loves a good romance. They love a story where the Ice King melts for the broken girl. His father, Elias, adores me. He says I'm the only one who can handle Victor. What he means is, I'm the only one Victor listens to. Victor nuzzles my neck, his lips brushing the sensitive skin over my mating mark. A shiver goes through me, and my wolf purrs. He's quiet today, Victor murmurs, his hand splaying over our unborn son. He's sleeping, I whisper. He was kicking all morning. Good. He kisses my shoulder. He needs his rest. It's hard work, being an alpha. I smile. You don't know he's an alpha. He could be an omega. Like me. I don't care what he is, Victor says, his voice thick with a fierce, protective love that still makes my heart flip. I only care that he's ours. I turn my head, and he meets me in a kiss, slow and deep and familiar. It's a kiss of peace, of safety. I love you, Vera Frost, he whispers against my lips. I love you, Victor, I whisper back. I am no longer the girl on the steps, freezing in the dark. I am no longer the scentless, broken omega. I am loved. I am mated. I am home. Thank you so much for watching to the very end. I have to know, what part of the story did you find the most intriguing? Was it the moment Victor's wolf recognized her in the blizzard? Or was it the confrontation with Bianca when he finally defended Vera? What did you think of his father's reaction at the end? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments. And please, if you enjoyed this story, like this video and subscribe to the channel. My channel is still young and trying to grow, so every single subscription is a huge support from you, and it truly means the world to me. I can't wait to see you all in the next interesting story.